Hello, everyone. I am so glad to be here live today. It's my first ever Instagram Live where I am hosting. I am excited to see you all. Thank you for joining. And today we are kicking off our Legit Leadership live series, and I am so honored to bring on our first guest, Valencia McClure, in just a moment. And just a little bit of context, I wanted to share that I decided to start this series. It's been something on my mind for some time, and it's really a chance for us to chat with some leaders who are across different industries, some business owners ranging from healthcare, banking, finance, airlines, cruise lines, whatever it is, because I have such a passion for working across industries to really get a feel for what are some amazing things that they've accomplished as leaders, what are some challenges that they have dealt with along the way, and essentially how can we learn from them, and what are some cool topics we can discuss. So I am very happy to have Valencia McClure join us in just a moment. And actually, Valencia, if you are on, feel free to go ahead and send a request and I will let you in. And thank you for everyone else who's joining too. I see some friends, I see some family members. This is all very exciting. All right. So I just sent a request.
Great.
Let's see. Hi, Valencia.
Hello. Hi. I'm trying to. Great.
There
Can
you
you
are.
see me okay?
I
Excellent.
can. You know what? I was like, could I do it horizontal? But I might have to do it this way. I'm learning. Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm trying to see where I can put this so you can see me. Give me 1 second.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Oh man, it's good to see you. How's it going
You
so
too.
far?
It's going good. Going good. Great for Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for having me on as your first
Absolutely.
guest.
Oh my gosh, it's such an honor. I'm very excited that we have a chance to chat with a bunch of cool friends of ours who are online and family members too. So I see
Yes.
some of your buddies are here as well.
Hey, thanks for joining.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, give me 1 second. This is getting a little slippery. Hold on. Okay, how's this? Let's see.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, all right, there we go.
Great.
Still new, still some technical issues, but working on it.
It's all good.
Yeah. So Valencia, I am so happy that you're here. And just a little bit of context for everyone who's joining. I've had the deep honor of getting to know Valencia over the years, well, over this year actually. We met
Yeah.
recently. We are both part of the Million Dollar Women community, and Julia Pimsler, who's the founder of that community and that whole movement, has brought us together. We've been in our masterminds together and just learning from one another and all these amazing other women business leaders. So what a treat, because were it not for that, who knows how we would have crossed paths.
I
So this is
know,
very exciting.
exactly. Yes, definitely. That's the beauty, I think, of the Million Dollar Women program. It's the beauty of Julia, because she encourages that interaction amongst the community. And it's so nice because you feel like you've got this great network of just fabulous women that are ready to help however they can, which makes it good as you go through these challenging times.
Totally. Yeah, and I just want to share a little bit of a bio about you, if that's okay, so people know who you are and what we're going to be talking about, and then we can dive into our conversation.
Okay, sounds fun.
Awesome. So, and this is for everybody. Some of you may know Valencia. Some of you might be meeting her for the first time. Valencia McClure is founder of the Artistry of Essential Oils, which is a plant-based skincare and lifestyle brand committed to empowering individuals on the transformative benefits of essential oils and integrating clean and natural products into every aspect of one's life. Valencia, who is a certified aromatherapist, formulates each product to achieve the highest results. And side note, I know, Valencia, I was in touch with you about some health issues that I'm also dealing with, and I just think it's so
amazing and thoughtful that you have the knowledge and experience to do the research and really kind of customize a curated formula for everybody. So that means so much to me as well.
Thank you. That's the part I love. That's the part that really gives me the biggest reward, is to see when I formulate a product for someone to know that it's working. And that's all I can ask for. That's the best reward.
Totally, totally. That's so good. And after being diagnosed with cancer in 2015, Valencia's search for positive results and more natural healing techniques was faced with a lot of reading, research, and consultations regarding holistic recovery. And in search to mitigate the emotional and physical side effects from surgery and radiation and a toxin-free life, led to a new discovery and appreciation of the perils of aromatherapy. So that's incredible. And thank you for letting us talk about your story as well, because I know it's personal and it's something that's been foundational to the evolution of your leadership, to your business also. So we'll get into that.
Okay, good. Great.
Awesome. And a couple of other things. So as a lifelong commitment to community engagement, Valencia has been actively involved in civic and charitable organizations, having served on the board of advisors for the University of Maryland School of Medicine and the board of directors for Susan G. Komen, Maryland, and Girl Scouts of Central Maryland, just to name a few. And because of this core value and the Artistry of Essential Oils being a cause-driven business, which I love, 20% of the proceeds from the company's wellness rollerball blends are donated to organizations furthering the mission of breast cancer research and advancing the empowerment of young girls and women. So timely, and I know you've been working on this for some time in terms of the journey, so it couldn't be more important than it is now.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And lastly, Valencia was named one of Savoy Magazine's 2019 most influential women in corporate America. That is awesome. Baltimore Sun's top 25 women to watch in 2016. And can I just add, in 2021, and a recipient of the 2016 President's Roundtable Corporate Executive Trailblazer Award. Valencia is a graduate of Leadership Maryland and Dallas. So such a pleasure to have you. Oh, you're such a baller. I love it.
Thank you. It's always funny when I hear my bio being read. It's always like, is that me? You think it's someone else.
I know. I was like, you know what I want to hire someone to do every day is when I wake up in the morning, read my bio to give me a boost of energy. Yeah.
But you know, it's
we can do that for each other.
Yeah, exactly. It's important for us, I think, to remember, as we always say, remember and celebrate those milestones along the way. Because so often when you have the hard days, you forget some of the great celebratory and the good days. So it is nice when you hear the bio read every now and then.
It is. It totally is. And just speaking of celebratory, like I would also love to get into a little bit about what this pandemic has done. And you know, it's been an up and down roller coaster, I think, for everyone. And you and I both happen to be women of color. We both happen to be business owners. So it adds a whole nother layer of complexity to the scenario too. So we'll check in on that as well.
Okay, good.
And Valencia, I would love if actually you can share. So I know we were talking, and I was letting you know that this is something I've been wanting to do for some time, and we were checking in with each other about our businesses and just how we can collaborate. So what to you is the connection between leadership, which is such a passion of mine, and I know of yours, and also essential oils and your whole business, the premise of your business? Can you share with our audience?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So, you know, I think, and we've talked about this, when you think about being a leader, you have to be whole, right? So in order to really lead a team and to be there for others, you have to be whole yourself, and you have to come 100% with yourself. It's almost the reason I equate that to when you're flying and when you're on the airplane and they say, if anything is to happen, you first take the oxygen before you can help someone else. So that's the same as a leader. So when you think about the connection, the logical transition with essential oils, it's all about the health. It's about being 100%. Your mindset is where it should be. And physically, you're doing everything that you can to keep yourself physically whole. So I'm going to take one step back. So when we talk about essential oils, I'll first talk about what they are, and then I'll go into why they do help from an emotional mindset perspective. So A lot of times when I mention essential oils to people that have never used them, they just see like a little bottle and they see oil and they're like, okay, how can that really help me emotionally? But when you think about what it is, so essential oils, they're very small but highly concentrated aromatic extracts that are distilled or cold pressed from plants. So it all comes from natural. So we know it's good. So it's coming from plants. And though although small, they're very mighty. So I always like to say that essential oils help to really, they're nature's way of balancing our mind and body. So it helps to keep us in that alignment. So when we think about then each day as a leader and the different, I guess, aspects of your day. So waking up in the morning, trying to have that energy. You can use peppermint, sweet orange, and lemon to get your day started. So that's a nice way to kind of boost your energy, get your mindset where it needs to be, ready to kind of tackle any issues or crises that come up throughout the day. Then perhaps for me, what I would do, I then would have my meditation. So for meditating, even before I would go into work, I might meditate with rosemary, clary sage, or lavender. That helps to kind of, again, quiet my mind, center my mind, because I'm one that I'll have thoughts just going all over the place. So there's times where I just need to center it and have my thought process the way it needs to be. And then once you get to work, then depending on what might be happening, you need to help to really, if you have to declutter the mind, or perhaps there's negative thoughts that are going. So that's where then you have your frankincense oil. Frankincense is what we say is the king of oils. It's been around since the start of time. We know it from biblical days. Wow. If you only have one oil, they say frankincense is a great oil to have because it helps with everything. But it's known for being a healing oil. So it heals emotionally or physically. And emotionally, it helps to get rid of negative thoughts. So that's a great one. You know, a lot of times when you're in the workplace, you're a leader, sometimes you let that negativity sit in. You might have a negative email that's sent, or maybe a meeting didn't go the way you wanted, instead of just letting that set in, because if that sets in, that's how the rest of your day is going to go. So for me, then if you're using frankincense, you could do like a couple of drops in your hand. What we always say, it's the palm inhalation. And then you just kind of inhale that. That gives you almost like a whole new mindset, helping clear that negativity. And then there's the days where you might have those meetings. You might be the only female going into this room full of men, and you might be challenged. So then there's the oils that help with lifting up your courage. You can use cedar wood or yang yang just to kind of give you that extra strength you need going into the meetings. So there's all different ways, depending on what you're battling throughout the day, of how essential oils can play into really giving you, I call it a mood makeover, when you need to adjust your mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you share with us a little bit about this idea of a mood maker and how you kind of how you went about your research and how you really got into this? Because I know you have had a journey, and thankfully you are okay and doing well with breast cancer, but what brought you to this point to be able to understand these nuances and what would be helpful, not just for leaders, for people of all demographics, genders, etc.?
Absolutely. So as you had mentioned, I come from a 30-plus career in corporate America. So I just retired in December of 2019 and launched the business. But what led me here, I know, it's very exciting. and what led me here, and I didn't even realize that my health journey was leading me here, but in 2015, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was fortunate, it was early stage, but I did go through 5 weeks of radiation. So as I thought through that whole process of, and that's kind of how I am, it's probably being in corporate, but I had to kind of dissect each step along the way. So one, I knew there were going to be side effects from radiation, because literally it's like burning the skin. So I thought, okay, how do I mitigate those side effects from my skin? Two, how do I mitigate to make sure to keep myself emotionally uplifted? Because when you talk to anyone who's gone through a cancer journey, your mindset is like 80% of it. So you have to make sure you're keeping yourself lifted emotionally. So that's when I turned to essential oils. That was a natural way. to help mitigate it. So I would use the frankincense and orange to keep my mind uplifted. And then I would use frankincense and jojoba for my skin. So I would prep my skin before radiation and use it after to take the sting of the burn out and to keep the texture of the skin the same. So that's when I saw how it worked, the effect from it, positive impact from it. That started me on my journey for becoming a certified aromatherapist, because I wanted to be able to really educate myself on using them in the right way. And so once I started, then it became not only for me, but then for others. So when people would say, I have a headache, or gosh, I'm getting hot flashes, or a little bit depressed, I would start formulating my products and give it to my friends and everyone I worked with. They knew that this was my love. And it became kind of like a joke, because it was one floor of the building where almost everybody had something going on, and I was formulating products for them.
You're like an apothecary.
Yeah, exactly. And then with the positive feedback, and then when I saw how it was working, that really then started to develop my passion for wanting to reach out to a broader audience of people and just educate them on the beauty and the benefits of essential oils, and how you don't have to turn to medication if you perhaps are feeling depressed, or if you're stressed or have a headache. There are ways to mitigate it naturally. And so that's where the passion came from. And that's then how the business started with the Artistry of Essential Oils.
For sure. Oh, I love that. And congratulations. I mean, from one business owner to another. I mean, the first, and I think my brother just joined, and he's like my family, his name is Omar, and been so supportive. And I remember something he always says, he's like, all it takes is your first client. All it takes is your first sale, you know, and then it's just, you know, you go from there. So I think that's great.
Yeah, once you get the encouragement, and as I would receive the encouragement from my colleagues, and I'm not even sure they really realized how this passion was developing within me, but they were just so supportive of what I was doing and the love that I had for it. So when they did hear I had launched the business, they were like, we knew it, we knew that was coming.
We knew it was coming. Yeah. That's awesome.
So it's been a great journey. And then to have, I just had a customer the other day. His wife actually had purchased the muscle relaxer oil for her husband. And so then he sent me the nicest note. He's like a 300-pounder weightlifter, athlete, and was having problems with his knees. And so he had used the muscle relief oil. Didn't really think it was going to work, but his wife said, just use it, use it. Sent me the nicest note about how great it helped to give him that relief in his knees. So when you get those type of responses from customers, especially someone who's going through a health crisis or something, and how the oils help to really provide relief for them and to kind of balance out the stress, that's where you feel like, okay, the mission I had for this business is moving in the direction that I wanted it to.
In that direction. Yeah, it kind of provides a North Star for you to keep on shooting for that. That's great.
Absolutely.
And Valencia, I have it's interesting because I have a question around, you started your business just shy of a year ago now. And in this time, we've had a global pandemic that we're still not had. I wish it was past tense, but we're still very much in the throes of it. There's been a very divisive election. There are other, you know, global kind of uncertainties. Businesses have shifted. There's been a rise in depression just at large. I think so many people, again, it's not gender specific or demographic specific. So many people have been experiencing it. I'd be curious to know what patterns or what kind of things have you picked up on as a business owner in this field, or what have you kind of noticed in the last year or so, given all these dynamic changes that the world is working through?
Right. So this year obviously is unlike any other I think we've experienced. And I think one thing that's coming out of it, unfortunately, what we're seeing, obviously a lot of people are going through really deep depression, anxiety, can't sleep at night. Even if they haven't been impacted financially, they still have a job, things are moving okay. No one in their family perhaps has been impacted by COVID. They're still feeling, though, the effects of what's happening around the world. And we know we've been glued to our TV with everything from the political aspect of what's going on. That has people's emotions going all over the place. So a lot of what I see is people are trying to turn to, how do I keep myself then healthy? What do I need to do to really make sure that the self-care is there? I am not just kind of falling into depression, but I'm trying to find the things I can do internally within my house to keep myself uplifted, or the beauty of nature. I always say, people, to me, it's taken me back to those simple things of life, where you can just find beauty if you look for it. But as a business owner within the field that I'm in, then we have a sleep well that helps with insomnia, our blend that helps with anti-anxiety. That by far is, everybody's asking for it. And it's nice to have a products that help people as they go through this emotionally. But then there's the tough part of, gosh, it's a lot of people out there that are really suffering more than I think what we even realize. You know, we all show up. We show up for our Zoom calls. We show up, you know, for telephone calls or texting or what have you. But behind that, people are really struggling throughout this time.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and I know one of the things, just having been in the field of leadership for some time, and even the theory around leadership, there's a lot more openness and a lot more emphasis around paying attention to the mental health of leaders, because there is so much stress. And there's this term, it's oftentimes we lionize leaders and hold them on this pedestal where it's like, we'll throw anything at them, they can handle it, they should have all the answers, etc. And I think being able to offer them kind of that nurturing, I know I do a lot of coaching too, but that nurturing safe space where they can talk to you about any issues they might be experiencing from a physiological standpoint, in addition to the mindfulness. It's important to be able to remember that leaders are humans too. So,
it is. And that's where, a lot of times, if you try to mask it, then that's when sometimes it creates other problems as well. So it is important. And that's kind of what we said. It's important. Leaders have to show up whole. So in order to show up whole, what are you doing then to feed into your mental, your physical health? You have to, exercise is more important than ever before. Mindfulness practice is so important. Meditation, the yoga, all of that. So there, originally when the pandemic hit, I questioned, should I pause the business? Because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. But then I pivoted. So my business model had to pivot. And I'm so happy that I did, because it's so important now to be able to go to the consumer and hear from our customers on what they're facing and how then the essential oils can help them during this time.
Absolutely. So here's a question for you, because this comes up a lot with my coaching clients as well. And I work with leaders at different levels, a lot of executives. And I feel like the resistance I get, and it's also my own, I don't always practice what I preach. In my mind, rationally, logically, I know that mindfulness, for example, and these practices are important, and it makes sense. It's like, of course you would want to do that, right? And there's science behind it. When I'm sharing with my leaders, like, that I'm working with, it's, you know, little baby steps each day, or you can actually try something. And I'm wondering, for folks who are finding it hard to start off a mindfulness practice or start the self-care journey, when as leaders they're so used to putting the needs of the business and the team ahead of their own, just kind of characteristically, that's what often happens. What guidance or advice could you give to someone who might be at the beginning of this exploration for self-care, in terms of a good place to start where it doesn't feel intimidating or overwhelming?
Right. So what I would say is, you know, a lot of times people, when they hear mindfulness, they're like, ooh, there's another 30 minutes or an hour out of my day that I don't have. And, you know, I've got to prepare. And so I think, you know, starting with, even if it's 5 minutes, you know, you can start with 5 minutes, and for me, it's in the morning, because it helps to set the tone of my day. But perhaps it's in the evening, whatever works for each person. But just find that 5 minutes of, and for me, like I say, if it's with the essential oils, if it's vetiver or rosemary, that helps to kind of quiet the mind. You have to know within yourself what quiets your mind. Everybody is different. And then I read Psalms 23. So that is what's very nurturing to me through my meditation. For each person, I would say, find what it is. It might be a quote. It could be or if it's a verse, a scripture, or perhaps it's another reading passage. It might be a book that you've been reading, all of the mindfulness people that are in this space. Perhaps you find something that they're saying, and just take 5 minutes. Start with 5 minutes each day. It will end up growing to perhaps 10, 15 minutes or, 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute or an hour. So whatever works for you, but it is important to just give yourself that minute to just think about, be thankful, grateful for your day, for your life. I think it's so important. People, when you have gratefulness in your heart, then a lot of times, no matter what comes your way, you're still able to handle it in a very gracious manner. And I think that's so important. Instead of focusing on what's not working or the negative, focus perhaps on what is going right. And again, just for the thankfulness of being alive. So that's part of too, as going through the mindfulness practice. And you'll start seeing a change. You really will start seeing a change in how you're showing up for the day, or even how you might end your day as well.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. And I know that's something that Julia always talks about, like brainstorm a list of what could go right, because our brains are naturally wired to think of what could go wrong. It's also not even what could go wrong, but it's just not always positively wired because it's in survival mode,
Yes,
So,
exactly. And if you've had a tough day, perhaps you did have a meeting that didn't go right, or an email that was negative. Try not to end your day on that note. So a lot of times I always tell people, my dad and I were just talking about this the other day. Write down when people might send you these wonderful notes, save those in a little glass jar. Or if something happens throughout the day and you're just so excited about it, write it down, put it in the glass jar. So when you have those moments, you can pull those notes back out, or maybe it's in a journal that you might have. And it is so, I can't stress enough, when you're reading notes that someone sent you 4 years ago that they thanked you for something that you did, that changes the whole tone of your day, I promise you. So it really is important to hang on to those.
I'm laughing because such a thing that happens in the workplace is a CYA, or cover your what, and it's like we document, we email to make sure that all our T's are crossed and we've dotted our I's to make sure we capture it. I'm like, what if we did CYA for some of the good stuff too? To have it and
that's true.
To pull it out anytime.
Yeah, that's very true. Because I'm telling you, it is so important, and it just gives you a joy that you can't even imagine when you read notes that someone has sent you. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things I wanted to ask you too on that note about kind of what happens, the dynamics in the workplace, as a woman of color, as someone who's been in the world of business, even prior to being an entrepreneur for your career, I would love to know if you can share a little bit about some of the bigger challenges that perhaps you've come across in your journey. And as for some of you who might be watching, you may know that I've launched a Women of Color leadership coaching program specifically designed for women who identify as people of color at different stages in their career, where they really want to grapple and deal with some of the narratives associated with it, where other folks from different demographics may not be dealing with those issues. And I've had so many women of color who've approached me over the years, and actually this year in particular, where I was like, we got to do something about this, because it is a very unique lived experience. Of course, there are nuances that we have, and so I know I've shared with you, Valencia, that I'm in the middle of launching this, and people have expressed interest. And I would just love to know from your perspective, as someone who does identify as a woman of color, what are some of those key challenges you've experienced as a leader? As a leader in the workplace?
Sure. Yeah. So it's, in my last 13 years was in the energy industry. And so, of course, that's predominantly male. So I think, and I always counsel other women when I talk with them or mentor them, have your own voice. For me, and I learned that as my career went on, but I saw the change in it. And when I say have your own voice, don't let others speak for you. A lot of times when you might have this great idea, or it's something you want to suggest or say in meetings, you might sometimes let others say it for you because you're afraid of, what if people don't like it? Or what if it gets shut down? How are they going to respond? Keep your voice. Write your own narrative, because if you don't write the narrative for yourself, someone else will, and it may not be the narrative that you want. And I've seen that happen so many times. People's careers will get kind of hijacked because there's the wrong narrative that is out there. So again, have your own voice. Write your narrative, have a seat at the table. And I know we've been hearing it a lot. And when I say, you know, a lot of times if there's not a seat at the table, you pull one up. And by that, I mean, sometimes you walk, where you sit in a meeting means a lot. So if you're sitting off to the side at a meeting, that's already giving the impression that I don't have a lot of value to add to this meeting. So if you go into a room and there's only 5 seats at a table and there's some to the side, you pull the seat up to the table. You never want to be sitting off to the side, because that's setting a narrative right there at the start of the meeting. So that is very critical. Your presence that you have within your job. I always tell people, know what you want to get out of your career. You give so much when you're working in corporate America. So what is it that you want to ensure that you get out of it? So from the networking to if it's meeting people in the community or what have you, know what it is, write your plan, know what your ultimate goal is, what are the steps that you have to do to get you there. And sometimes it might mean weekends are gone, not evenings are gone because you're having to do work functions. But if that's part of your goal, know what it takes to get you to your goal. Write the plan, work your plan. It's very important. A lot of times we keep it in our head, but we don't write it down, or we may not know the steps we have to take to get there. And I think too, being engaged in the corporate culture is so important. Sometimes I think we fight against it, but you have to be engaged and a part of the culture to move forward. Now you can move forward authentically, how you are authentically, but you want to show that you are engaged with what's happening across the company.
Absolutely.
So, and I think for me, as I did more of that, as my career started really taking off, that's where I saw the benefit. But the main part is, don't be afraid to speak your ideas, even if it's not accepted. Don't be afraid to speak your ideas.
Just keep speaking up. Yeah.
Keep speaking up. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And thank you for sharing it, because it's the experiences of women of color in the workplace is nothing new. It's not like it just started, but you're sharing in your career over the last years. And I know all the women who've been working before us, I know our ancestors too, right? Like it's, it's a continual journey. And on that note, I was curious to know, and I am forever an optimist on how workplaces can change and leadership. What do you see for the future as it relates to women of color in leadership positions, let's say in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, how do you see things shifting, if at all?
Right. So I have seen a shift. I've seen a shift even in the last, I'd say 4 months, obviously, since unfortunately with what we saw with the social unrest. I think that a lot of companies, perhaps even if they weren't doing it before, sorry about that, that they realized the need for diversity. That diversity is not obviously just in color either, it's diversity in thought. So, you know, I worked for a CEO who always said that we don't do diversity because it's good to do. We do diversity because financially it benefits the company. So when you have people of color, people of different backgrounds, different thought processes at the table, that impacts your bottom line as well. And that's the part that a lot of times companies don't realize. They think it's okay, we have to have diversity.
Check the box,
we're just
kind of thing.
You're just checking the box. But no, you see an impact to the bottom line for the company when you're bringing in diversity. It helps prevent helps to prevent a lot of companies from making major mistakes that we've seen happen before when they didn't have people of color around the table. So it's great to kind of see, you've seen like a wave of a lot of companies hiring chief diversity officers where they didn't have one before, which is kind of amazing that in this day they didn't, but it's good to see them stepping forward. I just hope that once we're out of still feeling the social unrest, that this continues. Doors have been opened. We still have a long way to go, because when you look at paid boards for major corporations. You're not seeing women of color. It's still CEOs of female CEOs of corporations. We're seeing some movement, but it's still not a lot. As you know, in our world, even as female business owners that have hit that $1 million mark, it's 3%. I mean, when I heard that number, I was just like, oh my gosh. So there's still a lot of road to cover, but it feels as if it's moving in the right direction.
Good. We're gaining some traction. Yeah,
I feel like you're gaining some traction, but it's still a long way to go, just even in capital that women receive when they start businesses, especially for women of color. Those numbers are very low. How do we change that? So it is a lot of work to be done. The good part is I think there's now I feel like the top has been taken off of kind of this box, and so people are looking at it.
They're jumping out.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of pavement on that road to cover.
Absolutely. Yeah, the runway is long, but we're slowly moving ahead. So that's great.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Valencia, I'm so happy that we've had a chance to speak. And before we wrap up, and I really, really genuinely appreciate your perspective and just the radiance of the work that you do, and you put your heart and soul into it. And yeah, it's amazing to have you here. And I would love to know, because I know the holidays are coming up too. Can you share what kind of special things that we should look out for that's coming down for the Artistry of Essential Oils? Or the holidays also are a big stressor for folks, not just leaders, not just women of color. What kind of guidance or what kind of things do you want us to look out for in the upcoming months?
Yeah, so before I go into that, I do want to thank you too for having me on as your first guest. So very honored to be your first guest for your Legit Leadership Live. And congrats to all the great work you're doing, especially with your women of color, because it is your women of color leadership program, because it is so needed of how to make sure we're integrated into that corporate culture and navigating the culture. So congratulations to you
so much
for that.
Thank you.
And for the holidays, of course, I always say, give the gift of well-being. What perfect gift can you give? And so we have I have to our little wellness rollerball blends, which are great because we have, one for anxiety, for stress, immune support, which is so important. But they're great little stocking stuffers that you can give to people. And trust me, they drop them in their purse. They can keep them with them all the time. Men use them as well. Men love our sleep well because I always hear from them to say it knocks them out. It gives them that solid night's rest. So we do have products for men as well. And then be on the lookout. We're in the process of formulating our Seasons of Christmas diffuser scent. So it's a diffuser blend. So it kind of takes you back to the joys and just the happiness that Christmas memories bring. So we're coming out with that for the holidays as well. Yeah. Oh,
very exciting. Well, I'm so psyched. And I typically it's been 3 years in a row. This would have been my 4th year to host all my clients and friends of the firm, and we do an in-person event at this beautiful wine bar that unfortunately because of coronavirus is no longer. So I was like, what can I do to kind of say thank you to my clients and those who have just supported the friends of the business and along the way. And I'm like, these are really, really great ideas here.
Yep. So you get
the wheels are turning. Awesome. So, well, thank you again, Valencia. It's always a treat to see you. And the funny thing is we haven't met in real life yet. So we need to make that happen. I feel like I've known you forever.
I was about to say, it feels like we've met in real life. Yeah,
totally.
So but it's been good. I have definitely enjoyed our journey this year. It's so nice to be able to kind of go through the journey, these ups and downs with other women that are on the same path with you. So it's been great. I've loved it. Yes. And hopefully next year, then we'll be able to get together in person. I'll be able to come out to New York and kind of be with the group there, go out to Central Park.
Absolutely. Yes. We miss you every time. So we'll make it happen. Yeah. So thank you again. Best of luck to you. And really just, I'm so excited to see what the future holds for you and yourself personally and professionally. It's going to be really exciting.
Thank you. Same to you too.
Take care. Bye, Valencia.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. This was the first ever, as we know, Legit Leadership Live series. Thank you, Valencia, for taking the time to spend some time with us on this Tuesday in November that, of the year to remember. Really appreciated all of you being here. And a couple of quick things. I am really open to any ideas that you might have for topics you want to discuss on the Legit Leadership Live series, and also any guests that you think would be great to bring on. Diversity is the key, and I mean that in perspective, industry, thought, demographic. I'm all about it. That is the operating reality that I like to hang out in. So thank you again. I hope you all have a great day, and tune in for the next one. I'll let you know when it's coming soon. Thank you so much.